This has been lodged in my chest like a stone for a long time, a small, hard thing that wakes me at night. I have rehearsed these words in my head until they sting. Typing them feels like knocking on a door I don't dare open. I don't know if saying it out loud or writing it down will make any difference, but I need to put it somewhere other than inside me. Maybe that will be a kind of release. Maybe it will not. Either way, the weight of it has hollowed out a space inside me that I can no longer ignore. I know what I did was completely wrong. I know it was a lapse in judgment. I have felt awful about it every single day since it happened. But let me start from the beginning, because the truth is tangled in small moments that led to one terrible night. I was married to my husband for 36 years, most of my adult life. We built a life together, raised children, stitched our days together until the seams were all that held us. Then, suddenly, it unraveled. The divorce was finalized in November of 2020, paperwork signed, stamps pressed. In the silence after it was done, he moved on, as if the past were a coat he could hang up and forget. Not just moved on, he had someone new almost immediately, someone easily 15 years younger than me. Whether they'd been seeing each other before or if he found her the moment we split, I will never know. What I felt was the hollow, bright sting of being discarded. The divorce hit me like a physical blow. After years of being a wife and mother, suddenly I felt like nothing. An older woman left on the pavement, while he stepped away to relive a younger life with someone fresher. Maybe it was jealousy or heartbreak, or the dull, crawling emptiness of being invisible. Something inside me snapped. I stared at my reflection and did not recognize the person looking back. Depression had left me soft and unmoored. Confidence and purpose had faded. I decided I would fight to take myself back. I threw myself into changing, punishing myself with exercise, strict diets, shedding 25 pounds. But the mirror still felt accusing. I took another step I told myself was for me: breast implants. It wasn't a simple decision. I convinced myself it was reclaiming something, a way to feel alive in a body that had felt borrowed. Maybe part of me wanted to prove I could still be desired. Maybe I wanted to punish him with proof that I could be attractive again. By June of 2022, the surgery was done. The first weeks I hid from the world. I wasn't ready for people to notice. I wasn't even ready to notice myself. Slowly, though, confidence crept in, and the world felt a little less cold. That summer, my daughter and son-in-law's pool was my refuge. For years I'd gone there with the grandkids, nothing unusual. But this would be the first summer after the surgery. I knew my body had changed and that people might notice, but they were family. What was I supposed to do? Never wear a swimsuit again? One late July afternoon, the sky a lazy, bright thing. My grandchildren splashed and laughed while my daughter prepared lunch inside. It felt ordinary. Then my son-in-law made an offhand comment about my breasts. It was casual, like a pebble dropped in a quiet pond, but the ripples hit me. I don't even remember his exact words, only the way my throat closed, the sudden hotness under my skin. I played it off, pretended not to hear, but inside I was unraveling. I had known such a possibility existed. Hearing it made me want to sink through the deck. That night, back home, with the house hum and the refrigerator ticking, my phone buzzed. A simple apology at first. He said he didn't mean to make me uncomfortable. Then came the line I wasn't prepared for. "I just want you to know I think you look great. I'm happy for you." A reasonable person would have let it go, deleted it, moved on. But the voice in my head was raw, and the wine in my glass loosened the edges of restraint. I answered. I don't know why I kept texting. Each message felt both like a betrayal and a plea. The texts spiraled into something I can't fully explain. In one impulsive, foolish moment, I sent him a topless picture. Even as I did it, I felt detached, like I was watching someone else reach for a flame. He replied with lines meant to comfort. "You look amazing. You're beautiful. Don't be ashamed." And for the first time in years, I felt seen as a woman again, not just as a mother or grandmother. I told myself it was a harmless reassurance. I lied to myself in small, patient ways. Then I invited him over. I can't pretend I didn't know what I was doing. I knew exactly. When he arrived, the house hummed with ordinary noises that felt obscene. The microwave, the clock, the distant traffic. And we crossed a line I cannot take back. We had sex. I hadn't been touched like that in 3 years, and in that collapsing hour, it felt like reclaiming something lost. It was wrong. We both looked like people doubled over under the sudden weight of what we'd done, and yet we said nothing afterward. We swore we'd never tell my daughter. We kept that promise, not out of protection, but out of guilt and cowardice. We texted a few times after. He asked for pictures. On some nights, I sent them. I don't have a rational explanation. Maybe a part of me still craves the attention, the validation. It's twisted, corrosive. We never went further than that night. We never arranged to meet again. But the secret clings to me like clammy skin. The guilt is a constant, low hum that vibrates through everything. Every family dinner, every holiday, every ordinary Tuesday when my daughter hugs me or sits across from me at the table, I feel poised to fracture. I tell myself that telling her would only destroy her, that confessions don't fix the damage. Yet I also ask myself, what kind of mother keeps this from her child? Would she ever forgive me if she found out? Could I forgive myself? So here I am, confessing to strangers, because confession to strangers feels safer than confession to the ones I love. Maybe that makes me a coward. Maybe it makes me desperate. I don't know how to live with this secret. I don't know if I can carry it any longer. I don't know where the next step is. The truth sits in my mouth like something sour that won't come out. I keep waiting for the moment when the weight will lift, but the stone is still there, and sometimes at night it seems to move. And if there's one last thing I must admit, the part I cannot swallow, even in the small dark where I keep it, it's that a part of me is afraid of what will happen if it ever gets out. Not only of my daughter's pain, but of what it would do to the fragile, brittle order of our lives. The secret isn't just mine anymore. It has threaded through our family like a silent, slow-acting poison. I live with the choice to bury it or the possibility it will be unearthed. Neither option feels like an answer. I don't have any neat ending to offer. There is no redemption neatly tied up, no heroic reveal to make things right. There is only this confession, said now because silence has become unbearable, because the stone in my chest is pressing against the ribs and I can feel my breath hitch around it. I can feel the shadow of what I did stretch longer each day.
I don't know if I deserve forgiveness. I don't know if I deserve anything at all. All I know is that I can no longer pretend the weight isn't there, and telling you, telling anyone, is the only small act I can take toward being honest again.
It feels strange to even begin this story, like I'm opening a door that should have stayed locked forever. But the weight has been sitting on my chest for months, suffocating me in silence. Maybe if I let it out, if I carve the truth into words, I can finally breathe again. Or maybe it'll only make the darkness worse. Either way, here it is. I met my ex-fiancé back in high school, almost 10 years ago. We weren't just a couple, we were the couple. The kind that people pointed at and whispered, "That's real love." We were inseparable, best friends who rarely fought, the picture of young devotion. Even through 2 long years of distance while she studied abroad in the US, we held strong. Against the odds of youth, distance, and empty wallets, I believed in us completely. I thought we would last forever. But forever ended in betrayal. I discovered she wasn't just unfaithful, she had been living a double life. It wasn't a slip, not a drunken one-night mistake. It was a calculated, ongoing affair, emotional, physical, intimate. And when the truth unraveled, I was left gutted. We weren't married yet, thank God, which spared me the courts and the chains of paperwork. But that hardly softened the blade. She had been my best friend, my partner, my everything. And in one revelation, she became a stranger. The cruelest part? She didn't care. I ended it, but she didn't beg, didn't cry, didn't plead for forgiveness. She just agreed, almost with relief, because she wanted him instead. No apology, no remorse, just a shrug and a new man. That indifference burned hotter than the betrayal itself. I wanted revenge. I wanted her to feel pain, to bleed some fraction of what she had carved out of me. So I told everyone, my family, her family, our friends. And then I went one step further. I told his wife. Yes, her lover was a man in his 40s with 4 children. A man whose wife believed she had a perfect marriage. I shattered her illusion. I told myself I was doing the right thing, that she deserved to know, just like I wish someone had warned me before I wasted years with a woman who had never truly been mine. And it worked. Their marriage collapsed. At least, that's what I heard. But affairs are built on lies, and this one was no different. He never really left his wife. He never fully left my ex. It turned into a toxic storm of deceit, half-truths, and desperation. My ex clung to him like a drowning woman clings to driftwood, convinced he would leave his family one day. Meanwhile, his wife lived in a nightmare, her world ripped apart. And still, my ex reached out to me. She wanted comfort, someone to lean on, someone familiar. I played along, pretending to care. But in reality, I was collecting her messages, every desperate word, every confession. Screenshots like weapons, because I knew one day I'd use them. And I did. 5 months ago, I sent it all to his wife again. Proof, evidence. The affair hadn't ended, not even after the first discovery. He was still lying, still sneaking, still betraying. I told myself she deserved the truth, that she needed to see him for what he really was. But truth is a blade, and I didn't realize how deep it would cut. Last month, the news broke. My ex and her lover were found dead, shot, presumably by his wife, who then turned the gun on herself. 3 lives erased in a single night. Now I lie awake replaying it all, over and over. Did I set this chain of events in motion? Did my bitterness light the fuse that ended in blood? I didn't pull the trigger, but was my hand still on the gun? People whisper that I share the blame, that I pushed a fragile woman over the edge. I tell myself I was just exposing the truth, that I didn't know she was broken enough to shatter completely. But deep down, I wonder. I wanted revenge, and in the end, I got it, but not like I imagined. I see their faces every time I close my eyes, hers, his, and hers. I hear the echo of the gunshot in my mind, feel the spray of blood that never actually touched me, but still stains me. I think about leaving, fleeing my country, starting fresh where no one knows me, where no one looks at me with suspicion or judgment. But I also fear running, fear that some relative will come for me, searching for their own brand of justice. Fear that no matter where I go, the ghosts will follow. Because even if my hands are clean, I know they're covered in blood. And that's a stain I'll never wash away. There are nights when the house exhales, and the silence feels like a question aimed straight at me. I wake in the dark with the taste of dread at the back of my throat, and there it is again, the small, persistent thought that everything we once had could be erased by the slow pressure of ordinary days. I keep replaying how it began and how it cracked, because the fracture lines still glow in my memory. Maybe writing it down will give them form. Maybe it will only deepen them. Either way, I need to put the shape of this life somewhere outside my skull. My wife and I used to be happy, truly, the sort of happiness that feels like light pouring through every door. 8 years ago, we were newlyweds, impossibly in love, always traveling, always laughing, with plans that felt like maps and a life that stretched wide with possibility. Everything seemed easy and endless. Then she got pregnant. We were overjoyed, stepping together into a new, bright chapter. When our first son was born, we believed we had everything we ever wanted. 2 years later, she became pregnant again, this time with twin boys, and everything changed. What should have been the best years of our lives slowly folded into something I never expected, a grinding, never-ending struggle that devours small joys. From the start, our oldest son was difficult in ways that didn't fit the usual script. It wasn't just the normal hard parts of raising kids. He had an extreme, volatile anger and behavioral problems that escalated and kept escalating. At first, we told ourselves it was the terrible twos, then maybe a rough preschool phase. Year after year, things only intensified.
We hopped from preschool to preschool, from one school to another, desperate to find a place that could handle him. Therapy after therapy, specialist after specialist, nothing truly helped. For 3 years, I've juggled 2 jobs just to keep the mosaic of interventions together: evaluations, therapies, medications, special programs, anything that might offer a sliver of hope that one day he could become a functioning adult. I work until my body screams, and what do I get in return? The other night, I walked in after a 15-hour shift, hollow with exhaustion, and said the automatic, tired greeting, "Hey, son." He looked up and said, "You? Dad." That was all. That was what my 15-hour shift earned me. I stood there. My legs were lead, my eyes stung with sleep, but something in me boiled. I had spent the whole day breaking my back for a child who seemed to hate me, for a child who made life miserable for everyone, for a child we'd poured thousands into trying to help. I lost it. I got in his face, looked him straight in the eye, and said, "You know what? You too." Then I walked away, showered, and went to bed. And what chills me even now is that I didn't feel guilty. Not the way I thought I should. He treats my wife, his brothers, and me like garbage almost nonstop. And what do? We coddle him. We tiptoe around meltdowns because therapists tell us to. Be patient, be understanding, show unconditional love. I hate that I resent my own son, but I don't know what else to feel anymore. The twins are not as hostile or explosive as their older brother, but they bring their own exhausting challenges. Both are on the autism spectrum, and that adds another layer of friction to an already impossible life. They are good kids in their cores, but there are routines, sensory overloads, and rituals that must be followed, or everything collapses. The shrieks and the repetitive patterns, the meltdowns that arrive like storms, all of it turns ordinary days into trenches. Picture me coming home dead inside, the house a riot, twins tearing through rooms, my eldest losing control, my wife trying to stitch the seams together between them. This isn't a random scene, it's every day. We've never been able to simply go out and enjoy ourselves as a family. One nice dinner last year, me with the bright idea of taking everyone out, ended in a meltdown at Olive Garden that got us kicked out and told never to return. I still feel the faces of strangers on us that night. Confusion, irritation, pity. We are banned. The memory sits like a stain. I watch my wife hold everything together while I'm at work. She's stronger than I am, and yet I've watched cracks form in her that scare me more than my own exhaustion. One night I came home late and found her in bed quietly crying. She didn't need words. The silence said it all. She's tired. She's burnt out. She is done. Our kids, for all the love we have for them, are eroding us. Our marriage is a slow slide. There hasn't been sex in 3 seasons. There is no intimacy, no partnership, only 2 people in a shared trench, teammates in survival, not lovers. This summer felt like a verdict. We are surviving from one day to the next, scraping by. If you're reading this, maybe you'll judge me a terrible father, and honestly, maybe you're right. I haven't been the answer. I work myself to death, throw money at every therapy and program, and hope for miracles. I don't know how to be a better dad. I don't know how to fix the damage. All I know is I get up, I work, and I dread stepping through the front door. There is a shadow at the center of this I never expected. My own father left when I was a baby. I grew up hating him for it, angry at the man who walked out on my mother, on me, on my siblings. He was the definition of a deadbeat and a coward to my young eyes. But these last few years have done something strange. They made me understand him. I see the contours of his choices in my own exhaustion. That terrifies me. I used to think nothing could be worse than a father who abandons his kids. But lately, I have wondered if maybe leaving was his way of sparing them something worse than absence. Maybe he knew staying would make everyone miserable. That thought makes bile rise in my mouth. I will not abandon them. I tell myself I won't become him. I will not walk away, even if I hate coming home, even if my marriage is failing, even if I cannot face another year of this. But the realization that I understand why he left haunts me like a mirror I can't turn from. It lives there, a sliver of a possibility I can't fully banish. I think about leaving sometimes. I won't do it, but the thought is a traitor that visits when I'm alone. So what am I? A trapped man who works and pays and hopes? A husband who once loved and now barely recognizes the person beside him? A father who sometimes resents the children he swore to protect? I am every small failing and every exhausted promise. I am afraid of myself more than anything, afraid that under pressure I will break in the same way he did, or that I will crack and find the easier, crueler path. There is no tidy ending to this, no rescue arrives in a scene. There is only the slow unspooling, the feel of days grinding down, and the little decisions that might tilt us toward ruin or salvage. I don't have an answer, only this record. I get up, I work, I come home, I dread the door. I do not leave. And sometimes, when the quiet seems too loud and the house exhales its question, I imagine what would happen if I simply didn't return. The image passes like a ripple, then a shadow, then it sits. It sits and waits. If you take anything from this, maybe let it be the small, ugly truth. Love can be patient and can also be exhausted into something unrecognizable. The man who stayed might also be the man who broke. I don't know which one I am yet. All I know is that the nights are longer now, and the silence has teeth.